Hello guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my videos. And today I'm going to be bringing you guys every single God bloodline ranked from worst to best. Now in this video I'm going to be ranking every GOKU bloodline, which I consider to be the equivalent of a God bloodline in this game, and I'll be ranking them from worst to best. So if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, and more. So next one, guys, let's get right to the video. Now the worst Goku in the game is actually going to be Ren Goku. Now the reason for this is because all of the Gokus are actually pretty good, so it may kind of make sense that Ren Goku would be one of the worst ones because it is the most basic one in my opinion. Now the most overpowered part of Ren Goku is actually the second ability, which is not on the stun global cooldown for some reason, and it can be a basis of a lot of different combos. But the third ability is on the stun global cooldown, so nobody really uses the ability anymore ever since that, because it's just not as good as other stuns in the game. Now the C specs are really nothing special. You know, you get a bunch of different ones, but they're all of them pretty much have something with them that isn't very good. So most of the time when you see somebody using the C spec, they're going to use Human Path or King of Hell to get that extra stun time for combos in. But another cool part of Ren Goku here is that the first ability actually has iframes, which can be used, you know, if someone's attacking you and things like that. Now second to last is actually be Sengoku. Now the reason for this, because the only really good ability of Sengoku is now the second ability. All of the other abilities are pretty much not worth using whatsoever. So if you're going to use Sengoku, pretty much only use this second ability for combos, and that's all you're pretty much going to use from Sengoku, because now even the third ability pretty much has like no duration to it at all. It's now the counter link, so it's really hard to time it, and there's just better counters in the game. Now third to last is be Ren Shiki. The reason for this is because Ren Shiki has had buff after buff after buff after buff to the point where it is actually now pretty good. The second ability no longer requires you to be in mode to use it. The third ability is now faster and a block break, and actually does a lot more damage than it used to do. The first ability is a counter, which pretty much absorbs every single attack that someone does and refills your entire chi bar if you get hit by anything. And the C spec is a very good traveling ability, which actually is a block break, which does a decent amount of damage. Now one of the best parts of Rashiki is actually the weapon spec, which is a block break combined with a stun. So overall, all the abilities of Rashiki are very good, and it is probably one of the most underrated Gokus right now. Now coming up next is actually be Tengoku. Now Tengoku is going to be here simply because of the raw damage output and the actual utility that this bloodline has. Now you may be thinking Tengoku doesn't have any utility, but the first ability is actually a stun, and it is a very good stun. It actually lasts quite a while. The second ability is no longer on the stun global cooldown and does an absolute ton of damage if you hit everything. Third ability is the beam, which is one of the best combo abilities in the game right now because of the damage output it has, and actually does last a long time and allows you to use an ability after. But the C spec, which was damage nerfed by a ton, actually had its damage buffed again. And not only that, but it is now a block break. So it pretty much got a buff compared to the previous version, which was just a buttload of damage. But yeah, Tengoku is actually very good in this current meta. Now coming up next is actually be Forge for Goku. Forge for Goku is going to be in fourth place simply because it does have the utility of other bloodlines in the game, but I feel like Forge for Goku is just a very spammy bloodline. Like, to use this bloodline properly, you practically just spam, and I feel like that's not very good for like skilled players, things like that. The most skill-based part of this bloodline is actually using domain on yourself when you're about to get attacked by people, and this second ability is actually a mode drain, which is one of the best parts of Forge for Red Goku right here. The third ability is actually very similar to a lot of the other ones that is actually a decent stun, and the Z spec, as you guys know, is the big spammy whammy that does a crap ton of damage to keep someone stunned for a very long time. Now coming in third place actually be Shindai Ren Goku. The reason for this because one of the abilities just doesn't work half the time. Once they fix this, Shindai Ren will be much higher. So in case they fixed it, it'll be around first place if they fix this by the time you watch the video. But if they haven't fixed it yet, pretty much the second ability doesn't trigger sometimes with people. Sometimes it doesn't even hit, even if they're very clearly inside the flame range. It just doesn't hit them at all, and they take no damage from it sometimes. Overall, the second ability is just extremely buggy, and it literally doesn't work sometimes, which means that you're only able to use 2 of the 3 abilities of Shindai Ren Goku, which puts you at a very much of a disadvantage while compared to the other bloodlines. But the first ability is actually a decent amount of damage. It does a crap ton of damage because it is 2 meteors. So it just doesn't hit as many times as Shindai's Sun. But the third ability, if someone hits you, it summons a bunch of clones that actually does 150,000 damage to people. Yes, you heard that correctly. 150,000 out of mode. So it is very ridiculous if you can hit every single clone ability. But one of the best parts of Shindai Ren Goku is not the C spec, but the C spec is very cool because it does summon a bunch of clones. But the clones can actually be very hard to use in an actual fight, simply because the clones doesn't automatically trigger to people. I feel like that should be something that it does. The clones should automatically start tracking towards people. But the best part of Shindai Ren Goku is not even the weapon spec either, which is a stun ability which actually does a lot of damage. Now the best ability of Shindai Ren Goku is the mode ability, which is the throwable, which does an absolute ton of damage, as you guys can see, and is actually a stun ability, which with an 8-second cooldown, not only stun global cooldown. So overall, Shindo Rengoku is very good, mainly for spamming, but I did post a Shindo Rengoku combo video if you guys want to check that out. Now, coming in second is actually Ryan Rengoku. Ryan Rengoku is going to be coming in second just because it is a very utility-based bloodline. It is the only Rengoku that is equipable into element slots, and because of that, it is actually very good to just put into combo kits or kits, like a kit where you don't have an auto dodge at all, just throw the second ability into it. It just takes up one element slot, and overall, you're really fine. Third ability is a decent stun that does a decent amount of damage, but it doesn't actually stun them, but that doesn't really matter in this current meta because you can auto dodge any stun whatsoever. But the Z-Spec is probably like the highlight of Ryan Rengoku right here. It does an absolute ton of damage, you guys can see, and it does have a massive AoE. Now, coming in first place is obviously going to be our friend Diva Rengoku. Diva Rengoku is going to be coming in first because of the iframes it has. Almost all of the abilities are actually iframes. The first ability is an iframe. Third ability is an instant cast iframe. C-Spec actually is a very good stun ability which drags people towards it and does a decent amount of damage. The third ability, the weapon spec is a Rengoku pull, which actually is an iframe if you land it. Second ability is a decent ability that does a decent amount of damage. It actually had the chi drain reduced, so it is usable now, which is very nice because it was not usable before because it used to drain 80k chi. But it actually is very usable now, and Diva Rengoku is honestly probably one of the best bloodlines in the game right now, because it is iframes combined with the fact that it actually does a decent amount of damage for being an iframe bloodline. It is honestly pretty ridiculous, and expect to see many Diva Rengokus in the future. Anyways guys, that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember that like button to click off more. See you next one guys. Bye bye.